So just waiting on the admins. I think I've got this sorted. Had a few hiccups there, trying out new systems, trying to work out different things. Highly confusing as always with technology. But I think I'm live. Just let me know if anyone can, because I'm doing a couple of different streaming systems these days. I'm not getting messages though. That's the one thing that's confusing me. So let me just see if I can. You're live. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Been having a few hiccups tonight with the my new system. So thank you very much. I'll get back to a camera that looks like it's moving. So hello, folks. I'm back. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you are all hearing and seeing this. I've got some different streaming software, which is very confusing. It is, because I don't think it quite works the same way as it does with everything else on the Socially Distant Fest. I'm Calum Lykan, the Scottish storyteller. Thank you very much for joining me, and welcome to the Socially Distant Festival, this amazing place that's been set up by these fabulous people to basically allow people like myself and many musicians and other artists to keep performing and keep doing what we love in this intriguing time of COVID. Now, couple of things to say before we get on here to the actual story. And the main one, of course, is if you do enjoy what a lot of the artists and performers are doing, please do think about donating to their tip jars. We all have tip jars on our pages, and that just allows you guys to basically give us a little bit if you think what we're doing is worth it. A lot of us at the moment are basically unemployed. If we're going to be blunt, I am a full-time performer, so basically I'm done until September. As hilarious as that sounds, I'm actually just checking my mobile phone just to make sure, because for some reason I'm not getting any info on my feed here this time. So if anyone is watching this, can you just make a few comments? Just let me know what's going on, because as I say, I'm not quite getting anything coming through, and I just want to make sure I'm actually not just talking to myself. I appreciate Ivory said I am on, which is wonderful, but I'm not seeing any kind of movement, which is a weird one for the Socially Distant Fest. So I'm actually doing a weird thing while I'm on, just double checking that everything is looking tickety-boo, shall we say. Let me see. Tickety-boo, tickety-boo. Looking for a strange-looking man. Not seeing me on the feed. I hope I'm coming through. I hope I'm not just talking to myself. Okay. Stephanie, Joy. Hello. Yep, we're here. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Sorry. Trying a new system, and it's not, my screen at the moment is not moving. So I just don't know if I'm getting any life here at all. And normally it tells me various things. So I think I've got to flick between systems. Catherine, excellent. Okay, so I know I'm live. Okay, so as I was saying, if you enjoy what we're doing here, these stories, if you enjoy basically any of the music, any of the performers, just, we've got tip jars, drop it in there, but there's more. Oh, it's fantastic. The actual guys who have organized this have also got tip jars. So the admins are doing all this for free. There's something like over 100,000 people following and working and performing on this page. So basically, if you want to support the actual page, there's a tip jar for that. I believe there may even be a Patreon page, that weird and wonderful Patreon. So please, guys, we're all in the same boat. Some people are still working, some aren't. But if you can give something, it's really good for the guys that are doing this. However, I also like to be cheeky and offer a separate deal. I'll just see if we can get this. I don't know if this will focus. Yes. What this is a download card for my Scottish Bedtime Story CD. It is not for the faint of heart. Come back to me, camera. Thank you. Basically, gruesome and grisly Scottish tales. And if you do enjoy what I do, and anyone that donates over $15 to myself, I send them a copy of that. So make sure if you are putting anything in the tip jar, that I have your email, not used for anything, but simply to send you that. It's not a marketing ploy. I'm not that type of guy. Storytellers can't be bored with trying those games, simply just to get you guys a little gift back for being so lovely and nice. However, we should get on with story. Who have we got here? Stephanie Taylor. Oh, hi, Taylor. I'll speak to you later. I'm looking forward to that. I think I can say it's on the page. I'm very lucky tonight. I'm getting interviewed by Taylor for one of the pages that's to do with this. I'm really excited to actually chat to her. She's a Calgarian. I am now living in Calgary. Apparently, we have lots of friends in common. So I'm actually looking forward to actually getting to speak to her. But I probably should do a story. I haven't been on for so long. I'm sorry, guys, if anyone was kind of enjoying the stories and then I vanished. Yeah, life took over, and sadly, too many events got cancelled, and I just needed a moment or two to process it. That moment turned into 2 weeks. Oh, terrible. So let's get on. I have been telling lots of Scottish stories, and I thought today I'd come on and do something different. Let's do a story, a Viking tale about the mythology, about some of the gods that we're familiar with, because how many of you have probably seen those delightful Marvel movies that have introduced us to Asgard, to Odin, to Loki, to Thor? Well, let's tell a story of Thor and Loki. But before we begin, I'm going to break a few hearts here, okay? The Thor that you see on the Marvel movies is not Thor, okay? I'm sorry, no. 1, Thor is not an Adonis. 2, Thor is not blonde. 3, Thor is not Australian. And 4, he is not Chris Hemsworth. I am so sorry, guys, but the Thor that you've been seeing on screen, as amazing as he is not Thor. The real Thor is as big as a bear. He's a huge man, a cumbersome guy. He's got wild red hair and a big bushy beard. It's said that his eyes have fire in them, that when you look at them, you're just filled with fear. Thor is a mean, grumpy, menacing character. And his whole life is about killing giants. Basically, that's all he does in all the mythology. He is out there with his hammer Mjolnir slaying the Thors giants. Now, Loki, on the other hand, they have done quite well. Loki is always pictured as a very slight gentleman with dark hair, very angular features. He's cunning and he's conniving. And oddly enough, Thor and Loki often travel together. Now, you'd be thinking they're very much opposite. Bold, bashful, boisterous Thor, and then sly and sleek at cunning Loki. But there's actually a reason that they travel together, and that reason's this. Thor likes to keep an eye on Loki. I kid you not, Thor does not trust Loki. And there's many a reason for that. I think possibly the most, we'll go with the most famous. Ladies, I want you to imagine beautiful golden hair, or whatever color your hair is. It's beautiful. It's long. You've taken years to grow it, to maintain it, to make it beautiful. And then one night, some wee fella sneaks into your bedroom with a set of shears and clips it all off. Well, that's exactly what Loki did to Thor's wife, Lady Sif. He basically cut her hair off. It was beautiful and golden, and Loki coveted it, so he cut it off. So you can kind of imagine why Thor likes keeping Loki close at hand. Well, the two of them are out traveling the realms, and it's a beautiful day, blue skies, the grass is green, and they're roaming across the lands. And as the sun bears down on them, they get a bit weary. And under the shelter of a great tree, both the gods lay down and fall asleep. Now, Thor is the first to awake. And the first thing he always does is, well, I would love to say it would be to reach out to his beautiful wife. But no, it's to find his hammer, his faithful hammer Mjolnir. And his hand snakes out and he feels grass. There's no shaft. His hand snakes out the other way and again, no hammer. Thor sits bolt upright, looking around. And sure enough, Mjolnir is missing. Loki. Whenever there is trouble, Thor's immediate thought goes to Loki. So he finds the god of mischief and pins him against the tree, demanding his hammer. But it becomes very obvious, even to Thor, by the look in Loki's face, that he has no idea where the hammer is. And now the gods are worried. You see, Thor and Mjolnir, they're kind of the reason that the gods are safe. That hammer is used to slay all the giants. In fact, the giants are terrified of it, more so sometimes than you'd think they are of Thor, the wielder. But if the hammer is missing, then basically there is a really good chance that the giants, when they find out, they will lay waste to Asgard. And all the gods know this. So now Thor and Loki charge back to Asgard and call a council and tell the gods the hammer is missing. What are we going to do? There's panic in the halls. And now the gods are worried. Where is the hammer? How are we going to find it? Does anybody know where it is? And it becomes obvious that nobody knows where this hammer is. So it is none other than Loki himself who offers to search for the hammer. But he needs one thing. He needs Lady Freya's cloak of feathers. Now, Lady Freya has a beautiful cloak of feathers that when it's worn, it turns its wearer into a great hawk who can fly across the realms. Now, Lady Freya is no fan of Loki, but she knows the dire straits that the gods are in. So she loans him the cloak and off he flies into the heavens for days, flying far and wide, searching for Mjolnir. Until one day he sees a huge giant sitting on a hill. And this giant is ripping out trees and with a great axe hacking them into spikes purely for the pleasure of it all. Loki lands, takes off the cloak of feathers, and he knows there's no use for cunning or guile. The gods are desperate, so he approaches the giant. I am Loki of Asgard. The hammer of Thor is missing. Have you seen it? The giant sits for a moment, scratching his chin. And then all of a sudden, his whole body starts to vibrate and tremble as a great roar of laughter leaves his throat. Ha ha! I am the giant Thrym, and it is I that stole the hammer of Thor. And I have hidden it 7 leagues below the earth where no god, man, or dwarf will find it. And if you wish the hammer returned, I ask one thing. Bring me Lady Freya to be my wife. Well, Loki listens to this. He acknowledges what Thrym has said, and he agrees to the terms because he knows not what else to do. Donning the cloak once more, he takes to the heavens and flies back to Asgard. And within a few days, he sees the great city and he lands. And who is the first god he meets? None other than Thor. And he tells Thor about Thrym, about the hammer, and what Thrym wants. That he wants the most beautiful goddess, Lady Freya's hand in marriage. Now, I will interject here for a moment because there's one thing that I will say about Thor and the Marvel movies. They have got him right in one context. He isn't exactly the brightest character in Asgard. To say he's a little dim-witted because of his boisterous strength and nature would be an understatement. And all Thor hears is, hammer returned, Lady Freya's hand in marriage to a giant. It's simple. So you can imagine Lady Freya's shock and surprise when the mighty Thor grabs her by the hand and starts dragging her through the halls of Asgard, heading out of the city towards Jotunheim. Well, even Thor is not dumb enough to realize the wrath of a woman. And eventually Thor, the great warrior, is huddled in a corner, cowering as Lady Freya's anger builds. And now the gods gather once more, and they gather in the great halls to discuss what to do. Well, they beg, they plead, they ask, Lady Freya, please, we need the hammer. You must marry the giant to protect all the gods. You must make the sacrifice. But she's having none of it. Lady Freya refuses to be wed to a filthy giant. And now the gods are panicking. What to do? What to do? How are we going to get the hammer back? But it is none other than Heimdall, the ever watchful, who comes up with the solution. For Heimdall sees everything that happens at all times in all the realms, and he is aware that Thrym has never seen Lady Freya. He has only heard of her beauty. So he suggests, well, a simple thing. Why not send somebody in her place? Thrym would be none the wiser, and hopefully we can retrieve the hammer. Now, all the gods are ecstatic. What a great plan this is. This is the best thing ever. And Thor himself is roaring and cheering and is so happy until the question is asked, who should we send? And that's when Heimdall turns to Thor. Now, it takes Thor a few moments of cheering and roaring to realize that now all the gods are staring at him. And then he realizes what they're suggesting. Oh, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I am not dressing up as Freya. Well, the gods argue. They rant, they rave, they plead, they beg. Thor is adamant he is not doing it. You will never let me forget it. You will make fun of me forever. And he refuses flat out to do it until none other than Odin, the All-Father, stamps his foot and demands that Thor does this for the sake of Asgard. And not even Thor can refuse Odin. So now, with great glee and a relish, the goddesses and their handmaidens set to work. They tie back Thor's wild hair. They braid his beard with silks to keep it tamed. They put lipstick and makeup on his face and eyeliner. They place silks and satins on his body. They place a veil across his face to hide his beard, and then they bedazzle him in jewels and diamonds. And then they stand back to see their handiwork, and well, it's pretty much just Thor in a wedding dress. They realize this isn't going to work. Nobody's going to believe this. So Loki steps forward and makes the offer. I shall accompany Thor. I shall change myself into a handmaiden and help Thor through this trial, because at least with myself at his side, we may have a chance of success. And the gods agree that this is the only way it may work. And now Thor, dressed as Lady Freya in all his finery, and Loki in the form of a handmaiden, leave Asgard and make their great walk to Jotunheim. For days they travel through the realms on the way to the keep of Thrym. Now Thrym has watchers in all the realms. And soon word comes back to him that two goddesses, or a goddess and her handmaiden, have been spotted, and he realizes it must be none other than Freya come to marry him. So he prepares his keep. He has it cleaned and dusted, which pretty much involves pushing bones into the corners and, generally just trying to hide some of the carnage. He has A great feast prepared for the ceremony, and he invites all the giants of the realm that he knows. And sure enough, after a few days, into his great hall walks the vision of beauty that is Lady Freya? Well, this must be Lady Freya. So he invites her over, his bride-to-be, and has her sit beside him and her handmaiden next to her. And then with a great clap of his hands, a feast is brought out and the tables are laden with food. And after his trek, Thor is ravished. He is so hungry. He is starving. His belly is rumbling away. And he devours this feast. He eats 2 oxen, 12 salmon, a couple of wild boar, and he eats all the sweet treats you can see. And the giants all sit there watching this goddess devour this food, and they cannot believe their eyes. And Thrym exclaims, "Her appetite, Lady Freya's appetite, is that of a giant." And Loki realizes that Thor's hunger may blow and ruin the whole disguise. And quickly he thinks, your giantness, your giantness, Lady Freya, well, she has fasted for days. So much she wished to present herself in all her finery with a beautiful figure just for you. But now she is by your side and she looks at your handsome face. Her hunger is unleashed. And now she feasts, knowing that soon she will need the energy to be with you. Well, Thrym is just blown away. He's thinking, this is amazing, Lady Freya. Well, she will fit in here fine, he proclaims. And as the feast continues, the mead is brought out, the honeyed wine, and let me tell you, folks, Thor loves his mead. He devours and drinks down about 12 barrels plus of mead, quaffing away, filling his belly. And of course, the giants are all trying to keep up with him because they are not going to be outdone by a goddess, and they're drinking and drinking, and some are falling over, some are releasing their guts with too much wine. It is chaos, but still Thor, in the guise of Freya, drinks away. Well, there is a wee secret that you must all know about the honeyed wine, and that is this, folks. It makes men rather amorous. When we have imbibed too much, we start to think romantic thoughts. And this is what happens to Thrym. He's looking at this beautiful vision that is to be his bride, the most beautiful of all the goddesses, and he decides after too much mead, I need to kiss her. I can't hold back any longer. I need to kiss those lips. And he leans over and is about to remove the veil when he looks into those eyes. Thor's eyes, those flaming red pits of hatred. And Thrym leaps back in fear and shock. Her eyes, they look like she wishes me dead. And Loki once more, desperate. No. No, your giantness, no. Lady Freya has not slept for days. So desperate to be by your side, so desperate to be in your bed. Her passion has kept her awake. What you see is not hatred. What you see is a woman's love, her burning passion just for you. Lady Freya is desperate to be your bride. And Thrym is besotted. In all his days, he never thought this would happen. The food, the mead have blinded him, and now all he thinks about is the wedded bliss with this most beautiful of goddesses. And before he can stop himself, he claps his hands and orders the ceremony to begin. Now we have a problem, because Thor and Loki didn't at any point in their planning ever think that they may actually need to get Thor married to the giant. And now Thor is panicking. Thor doesn't know what to do. He's desperately glancing at Loki. Loki is panicking and sweating. How are we going to get out of this? But then it comes to Loki. A solution. Your giantness. I would say, as the ceremony is about to begin, maybe a wedding gift to Lady Freya would be none other than Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor, to show all the gods how trustworthy the giants are, and to bond our two races together in that trust. Well, Thrym sees no problem with this. Food, drink, the thought of wedded bliss have got him all befuddled, and he doesn't think straight at all, so he orders the hammer of Thor to be lifted from its hiding place and brought into the hall. Beside him, he looks at his bride, and Thor is in his chair, shaking and vibrating, desperately trying not to break the chair. Anger, frustration, embarrassment are fueling Thor, but also excitement, for he knows the hammer is getting closer. And after what seems like an eternity, into the hall it comes. He sees his beautiful Mjolnir. Closer and closer it comes. Thor is trembling with rage and anger and excitement, until onto his lap an oh so familiar weight is placed. And all of a sudden, Thor is at peace, calm, relaxed, as if the world is a beautiful place. A stillness fills him. Until his hand reaches out for the shaft of Mjolnir, and as soon as his hand touches and grips that shaft, Thor leaps up, roaring and bellowing, ha ha, raising Mjolnir high, and he rips off his veil to reveal none other than Thor. I hope that wasn't a spoiler for you. Well, Thor is roaring and bellowing. The giants recall as they see Thor, and Thor is not done. He rips off the wedding dress to reveal far too much Thor. And Thor is angry. Thor is filled with rage and embarrassment that he must vent, and the first victim to fall to his blow is none other than his handsome husband-to-be. With one strike of Mjolnir, Thrym is sent flying and dead. But Thor is angry. He cannot sate his anger. He goes round the whole keep and castle, slaying and slaughtering and killing every single giant and living being he can find, smashing walls, destroying floors, killing all, until there's none left but himself and Loki. And when they are the only two breathing left in the keep, they realize that it's time to go home. And both gods head across Jotunheim, heading the long walk back to Asgard. Above their heads, thunder and lightning fill the skies with Thor's anger. And on the walls of Asgard, the gods wait. And in the distance, they see it. They see the thunder. They see the lightning. They hear the thunder, and they realize that Thor is returning. And when Thor is in sight of the walls, he raises his hand high, holding Mjolnir for all to see. And the heavens erupt with cheers and roars. For the gods of Asgard know that once again they will be safe behind their walls, protected by Thor and Mjolnir. And no giant would dare come near Asgard when both of them are in residence. And Thor walks into Asgard and heads to his chambers. The heavens are still filled with thunder and lightning, and for weeks after, that thunder and lightning stays as Thor broods and is grumbling in his chambers until eventually he comes out, calm and relaxed, the ordeal forgotten about. And Thor continues his days with many adventures, with many great deeds, while all the time the gods are safe in Asgard. But there is a moral to this story that I need to make you aware of, folks. And it is this. There may come a time in your lives, if it hasn't already happened, that you will fall in love. There is a time that you may decide to spend your life with that person, and you may decide to marry them. Now, when you're preparing all the marriage things, there is an important thing, and that's called the wedding list, where you basically send invitations out to everyone who you wish to invite to your wedding. And it will happen that as you scan that list, a name will have appeared. Neither you or your partner will know where it came from, for neither of you wrote it down. But can I make one suggestion? When you see that name, do as I did when I got married. Take your pen and score through it. Don't send out an invitation. Don't invite this person to your wedding, because the last thing you ever want to do is invite Thor to your wedding. From that day to this day, Thor has never forgotten his embarrassment and has vowed to ruin any wedding he's been invited to. So please heed this warning, enjoy this tale, but never invite Thor to your special day. Thank you very much. Now, folks, if you enjoy these stories, if you enjoy any of the performers on the Socially Distant Fest, do remember we all have tip jars. You can donate to us, or tip us, shall I say, for our performances. It is greatly appreciated. A lot of us are full-time performers like myself, who are now finding ourselves in very interesting times. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you donate to myself over $15, let's see if this will focus, I will send you a copy of Calum Lykan's Scottish Bedtime Stories, the download CD. This is a collection of Scottish tales, but let me warn you, they are not for the faint of heart. Gruesome, grisly, and delightful Scottish stories. So if you donate over $15, that comes to you. So make sure your email is attached, not used for marketing, simply used to get you your copy of the CD. But with that being said, folks, thank you very much. I have an interview to do in a couple of hours, so I want to thank you all for joining me. It's been great fun. I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope it came through all right, because as I say, my screens are showing no movement, although I'm getting a few comments. So thank you very much, folks. It's been a pleasure.